Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Adam Lavell and welcome to another speed edit and a chat with myself. This picture was for the Sunday Funday challenge that Maka created. The theme was Surrealism. This one is a tough one for me because I'm not really into the whole Surrealism type. I've never really done it before. I'm fascinated by it. I think it's mind blowing. So this was a huge challenge, and I went online and looked for inspiration, and I thought, what is there that I can try and do? So today's chat is going to be being your best self. The image that I'm working on is about having two sides, right? And I think that all of us have multiple sides to ourselves. I know definitely 100% I do, and I use different sides of myself to deal with different situations. So, for example, at work, when dealing with colleagues, employees, directors, professional people in the workplace as such, I have a very different way of speaking. I find myself, acting much more professional than you may know that exists within my personality. I'm clear, I'm concise, I'm direct. And then when I'm with my mates and we're chilling and it's a relaxed atmosphere and, boys being boys, we have banter with each other and we laugh, we joke, it's a whole different side. If some of my friends were to see me in my work environment, they'll be quite amazed. In terms of, like, who is this fella? Like, really? This is how he rolls? And I think personally you have to be in those situations. You have to adapt to your environment. Because then you get the best. Because if you're consistent the same way, like, how I'm at in my office environment, if I was, professional, serious, direct, concise, with my friends, they wouldn't find me so engaging, There'll be like lots of awkward conversations. So it's important to have, diversity with how you are. And it goes the other way around. Like, in my work environment, I can't be laughing and joking. I have huge responsibilities. We do obviously, have a laugh, and it's a pleasant workplace, but at the end of the day everyone's there to work. We have targets to achieve, we have jobs to do, and that comes above everything else. So we have to be the best self, our best self for the right situation. There's also a side of me that if I'm done wrong, and this isn't like, me being a badass or anything, but, if I'm done wrong, then I'll act appropriately to that person who may have done me wrong. And quite often, it's very little that I do to that person. It's just, I then place them in a category. That this is someone that I'm not going to, waste time on. This isn't going to be somebody that I invest my efforts into. And I close them off. And sometimes you have to do that with people who are toxic. People who have like sinister ideas. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but there are people who just thrive from just doing horrible things, and that sucks. It really does. It's just, ugh. Anyway, in our day-to-day lives, we want to try and be the very best we can be. And I know that sounds super cliche, be the best that you can, and you can do it, and all of that, right? But there is truth, well, not truth, but there is, value in being the best that you can be. Because when you put 100% into something, right? When you put your focus into something, the results are going to be far greater than when you half-ass something, right? And opportunities for you to grow increase exponentially when you give it your everything. So there is value in being the best that you can be, right? But it's not easily achieved. I mean, I can vouch for that 100%. It's not easily achieved. There's so many contributing factors in being your best self. There's things that that you're in control of, like the way you dress, the way you speak, your exercise, the foods that you eat. All of that contributes, but that's all stuff that's in your control, right? You decide what you eat, you decide when to go to bed, you decide all of these things. But then there's certain things that are out of your control. So the things that are out of your control is like, losing your job, or being on lockdown, not being able to go into the office. The weather, snowed in or something, and what you set to do you couldn't do, or things that other people actually do. For example, a loved one, falling ill, and your plan has had to alter because you're now the primary care person of a loved one. I hope that makes sense. So there's things that are in your control, and there's things that are not. And all of these contributing factors determine how you deal with certain situations. I know from personal experience, from the age of 22, 23, I started up my own business, while still working as well, because I needed capital, and I couldn't quit my job, but I was setting up this business on the side. So I was working all day long in my job, and then evenings and weekends 100% focused on developing my business. So there was no chill out time. There was no, time to decompress and, focus and, plan things out properly. And it had a huge impact on my own health, on my ability to do either my job or run the business, because I was worn out. I was spreading myself way too thin, and I was getting worn out. My sleeping habits were literally get up maybe 5-6 o'clock in the morning, and then I was going to bed maybe 2-3 o'clock, maybe even later, and most times not even getting any sleep. And that, is a no-no. Sleep is so important for your body, for your mind. The right amount of sleep is vitally important. My eating habits were horrendous. I would skip breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because I was just way too busy. I would snack on, whatever was easy. So like crisps and things. And then at night, too tired to cook anything, so it was a takeout. And when I say night, I mean it'll be 11, 12 o'clock at night, and the only kind of places that are open where you can get takeout food is just the worst kinds of food. I mean the delicious food, but the worst kind of food. So all of these things were contributing factors to me struggling to maintain my job performance as well as set up new business. It got so bad that I ended up having to give up my apartment, and I was living out of my car for maybe 3-4 months. Not the best of situations. I would use hotels lobbies to kind of conduct business and act professional and hold meetings and stuff, even though I wasn't actually staying there. I would just just sit there and charge up my phone and charge up my laptop and work away. And then I know this isn't a great thing to admit to, but there were times where I would walk along the corridors of some of these hotels. I mean, there was a few that I knew quite well, and there was a lot of business people staying at the hotels, and they would leave 8 o'clock in the morning or 7, to go off to work or whatever, and they would check out. And when I'm walking down these corridors, I'd see some of these doors open, and I would sneak in, have a shower. A couple of times, the maid would come in, and she would think that I was actually the person that was supposed to be staying in that room. At the end of the day, I realised that this ain't working for me. I'm not achieving what I want. It was a struggle. So I had to make changes. The first thing that I did was sort out my eating habits. I stopped getting food from outside, or if I did, then it would be healthier options. Going to a supermarket and buying a better quality, easy food. I mean, it's still not good because oven pre-made meals and stuff. They were never good. But then I would make sure that there was always vegetables and fruit and stuff. So that was the first thing I did. And then the second thing I sorted out was my sleeping patterns. Regardless of what needed to be done, I made sure that come 12 o'clock, absolute latest, was the time I go to bed. 4 o'clock I wake up. Still a small amount of time, but it was starting to build a routine. And I started to get up at 4 o'clock for one reason, because I wanted to make sure that I spend at least an hour doing yoga and going for a jog. 20-minute yoga session, and then the rest for a run, and then do that. So those 3 things alone, food, sleep, exercise, those 3 things alone, I noticed a huge difference in my productivity. Massive difference. During the day, I was more alert. I was able to make better decisions. When I was tired and when I was I was hungry, I was irritable, and I was making really bad decisions. I was accepting deals, taking on work, which I knew I couldn't do within the time frame. And it made me look really bad. So So, making those small changes, because again, those changes, my sleep, my food, and my exercise, those were the things that were in my control. At least if I sort that out, then, I can do better in other things. And I started to notice a difference, and the more I noticed these differences, the more I wanted to do more of it, like, make sure that all my meals are healthy meals, start to cook my meals as opposed to put them in the oven. Instead of going to bed at 12, I start at 11:30, instead of getting up at, I was always getting up at 4, that I couldn't change because I needed to get my exercise time, but then my exercise routine started to change as well. I was including other things, my runs, then I started to do weights, I started to do, more, cardiovascular, my yoga routines, they were getting more complex, more detailed, and I was becoming more in tune with it. Like when I was actually doing yoga, I was actually able to really get into it. Like my mind was in it. Like I would be able to not think about everything else, all the things that were going on, the meetings I had to deal with, the financial worries that I had, where my next meal was coming from, all of those things. It got to a point where I could just completely put all that to the side and completely be in focus. And then with my runs, I would use that opportunity to just plan out my day. The calls that I knew that I had to make, the people who I needed to speak to try and get their business, I was visualizing those calls in my mind whilst running, and I was preparing, all the different ways of how to approach, various, different businesses for business, to get their business. So those things that were in my control, I made those changes, and it made a huge difference. And this is where I feel, was a turning point in my life, and I was able to add to it. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't an easy thing. It wasn't like, I woke up one morning and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to stick to it. I fell off the wagon so many times, especially I thought I'd have time to have a proper breakfast and have a lunch and have a dinner, but things out of my control, with meetings and rushing around in my job, trying to hit my targets and try to keep that job whilst running my business on the side. I was always falling down. I was always struggling to maintain it. So then, come 10 o'clock at night, I'm starving. I'm really hungry. There's a chicken shop nearby. I could easily just get it, and a few times, or quite a few times, I did. And the following day, I regret it. Even after eating those foods, I was regretting it. Why did I do that? Because I knew why I did it. I was too exhausted to try and to cook something. It's not easy. And then I saw something online about some dude prepping their meals, and what they were doing was they would take one day and they would buy all the ingredients and spend a few hours making boxes of meals for the next few days, and their fridges was organised with all of these boxes all stacked up, and all you had to do was just grab one and you're good. You don't have to maybe heat it up or something, but you didn't have to cook anything. And when I saw it, I thought, wow, I mean, to be totally honest with you, is when I saw the state of the person's fridge. I mean, all of those boxes just look so amazing. Like, it just looks so well organised. And, I'm super OCD, and I thought, you know what, I like that. I like that concept. I want to do that. So I did that. One Sunday I went to the grocery store and I bought a whole bunch of stuff and I made it. And I cannot tell you, I have not looked back since. I mean, admittedly, I eat the same foods every day. 4 or 5 times throughout the day, and I've been doing that for the last 8 years, 9 years. No, oh God, time's gone so quick. I've been here 2 years. I've been doing that now for 12 years. No, even longer than that. Oh my God. 14 years. So for 14 years, this is my diet. In the morning, I have porridge or oats, and then I have 4 boxes that I have throughout the day, and in them is maybe 3 or 4 small pieces of chicken, like bite-sized pieces of chicken, and then veg, and it'll be like broccoli or spinach, sweet potato. I throw a bit of nuts, a bit of berries or whatever, and then another box will be fish, so it'll be like salmon and the same vegetables, and that's it, and they're bite sizes, like you could put it in your hand, and that's it. That's what I have. So I have those 4 times a day, those boxes, and that's it. I have 2 litres of water a day. I know for some it might seem a bit extreme. Everybody thinks that I'm a weirdo. I had to come back to the UK, spend time with the family, and it's been so hard to maintain that because my mum, she cooks the most amazing food, right? Growing up on her food was always a treat. She gets so creative, and it's just so delicious. But she has a lot of foods that I don't eat. I just can't eat. So it's a struggle. And when I do eat, because I'm 6'2", I work out, so I'm a bit bulky and stuff. And when people see when I eat, they think like, what the hell? It doesn't make sense. Like, you're a big dude and you eat this. What's wrong with you? But I stay committed to it because I've seen the difference. I've seen the impact that it has. I now never have to worry about food. I mean, in terms of what I'm gonna eat, it's there. It's made. And then that time cooking can be spent elsewhere, and for me that was important, because especially setting up business. My business has taken me to spend time in the Mid East. I spent time in the Far East. I lived in Hong Kong for about a year. I spent 2 years in Dubai, working out there, and then back in the UK, and then to New York. So my work is very demanding, so it suits me to a T, right? This kind of lifestyle. Anyway, I've digressed a lot, but these things that I did, were massive contributing factors to achieving certain things. So I know from personal experience, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to say things to you or to anybody, right, that, you should do this and you should do that, if I don't 100% believe in it, that there's no conviction in the words I say, because it's mindless advice, and that I cannot stand that. When people say, like, for example, you're in a marriage and you're having difficulties, and then you go to somebody and you ask advice to somebody who's never been married. They can give you guidance on how you can handle yourself as an individual, but how can they give you advice on what it's like to be in a marriage? They can't, right? So for me, I can only talk about the things with conviction. I'm not saying that I'm advising, because at the end of the day, this is me just chatting out loud and hoping that if there's anything that I can do personally that can have a contributing factor to a positive outcome to anybody, it's worth doing, right? So I'm going to do it. But I know that these steps worked for me. Routine sleep patterns, having a proper breakfast, eating throughout the day, exercise, those things, they work because they unleash capabilities that are dormant in your body when you don't do these things. Like we can all, each and every single one of us, can do such amazing things. But it's how we use our bodies, how we use our minds, determines. I've lost my trail of thought. I was looking at my own speed edit. This part was so annoying, right, in terms of the speed edit, like trying to get the nose to line up, and then I was constantly going back and forth, like it was doing my head in. But yeah, I'm happy how this was coming along. But going back to what I was saying, our bodies are amazing things. They have so much capability, but because of how we use our bodies, we're not fully using, we're not exploiting our bodies to reach its potential. So the certain things that we can do will unleash those capabilities, will become more apparent to you. Things that you thought that you couldn't do. Like, how many of us, like, when we go running and we're like, after 2 minutes, we're like gasping for air and we're thinking, no way can we do this. But if we keep doing it, we try again the next day, and then we can last a bit longer before completely passing out, and then a week later, then you find yourself going a huge distance, and then afterwards you're like, mate, I'm good. Like, I'm not even wanting to throw up my guts and gasp for air and stuff. This is all good. I can do all of this. It's because you're allowing your bodies to reach its potential, to grow, to develop. And that's what I mean by being the best that you can be. Use the factors that are in your control, right? Those that are not, all right, you can't do anything about. But the things that are in your control, do everything you possibly can, to try and build on that potential. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because these chats, they're completely freestyling. I start thinking I want to talk about one thing and end up talking about something completely different. But what I do hope is that it gives a different perspective on wanting to do things. I shared a bit about myself. I don't really do too much of that, but I only share if I feel like it's going to give conviction in the words that I say, because anyone can say anything. I'm not preaching, mate. I'm not preaching at all. Like, you should do this because this works and whatever. This, I mean, if you've listened to any of my previous videos, right, these chats are really for me to reinforce, to speak out aloud and reinforce certain things. So if I go astray, this is like a reminder for myself that I need to do better. I need to realign my focus and get back on track. So primarily, this is for me. I'm selfish like that, but I'm sharing my thoughts because maybe it might help in some kind of way. And if that does happen, then that's awesome. I love that. I know that to make a world a better place, and again, another cliche thing to say is, be your better self. Forget about what everyone else is doing. Do the best that you can do. And I promise that others will follow by example. Those that love and care for you, they will follow by example. You'll get haters that will try to stop you and deter you, but the more you focus on you, the better you will become in handling that. Take time out, spend the time and look at the things that are within your control that you could possibly change or improve upon, that could have a contributing factor to you being your better self. Whether it be your meals, your sleeping patterns, whether it be exercise, activity, look at those and see what changes you can make for a better you. Anyway, coming to the end of this speed edit. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch. I mean, if you muted me the entire time, it's okay. I don't mind. As long as you found the speed edit, great. Be good, be happy, be awesome. Take care.